beating North Carolina, Virginia, Wake Forest, at Florida State. Those 4 wins, Florida's not getting a whole lot of credit for in terms of the NCAA resume. I think only the North Carolina win is a quad 1 win, and it's just barely hanging on because I think Carolina's in the 40s. If they go over 50, then they lose that win. So, Florida's non-conference schedule was not great. I've said that all year. I thought it was good, but not great. And as it's turned out, some of those teams have really let them down.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Dooley Dome Studios. We have a good show for you today. Mark Wise, always love it when Mark Wise is on. I mean, he is just so interesting. He knows so much about college basketball, and he understands the way the tournament works and everything. So we'll talk to him. Of course, Coach Spurrier on Monday, and then following Thursday, Matt McCall, former Florida assistant coach who now is doing a lot of radio and becoming an expert, I guess you could say. I did go play golf yesterday. And I had my dream foursome. I don't want to say it was my dream foursome. My dream foursome would include probably, like Nicholas and guys like that, Tiger. But my dream foursome for Gainesville, Florida, was Coach Spurrier played, Pete Indelicato, and Jeffrey Meldon, of course, a good friend and one of our major sponsors here. We appreciate him very much. We had a blast out there playing. The 17th hole at Hawkstone, I own it now because the last 2 times I played, both with Spurrier, I birdied it, and it's a hard hole. I had driver 3 wood within a foot. So other than that, though, I didn't do a whole lot. I think I shot like 41, something like that. Anyway, we had a blast, and it was a nice warm day, and it's why we live in Gainesville, FLA, right? All right, let us get to our Royal Blue starting 5, brought to you by Randy Royal and Royal Blue. I was supposed to hook up with Todd Royal on Wednesday, or was that Tuesday? The days are all starting to run together. Tuesday, I guess it was, and we just couldn't connect. He was here for the basketball game, and we couldn't connect. That's just, I wish I could have done that, but I was doing something, he was doing something. Anyway, let's get to our Randy Royal Blue. Starting 5. The number 1 story of the week would be what happened, or this week, would be the game Tuesday night and how good a win it was. It was a good win because it was a game I talked about. Florida couldn't afford to lose because you're going to drop several spots. Even though I know I talk about the beachhead and everything, but they would have that would not have been a good loss to have lost 2 at home, especially to Vanderbilt. But that Vanderbilt's got a good team. This tells you what the SEC is. That Vanderbilt comes in here and is right there with Florida until Florida hits a bunch of threes late and pulls away and wins by 11, which actually I think the spread was 11.5. So, and Will Richard was just, again, I think Will Richard is just Mr. Clutch on this team. I know a lot of people can say, well, it's this guy, it's this guy. I think Will Richard is the guy who makes the play when you need it the most. It just feels like it all year. I go back to that rebound against North Carolina. And the game's getting away from him, and he rebounds, puts it in. That kind of clinches the game. He's hit a bunch of threes like that. We all know what happened in South Carolina. That was an unbelievable play. Everybody says it was a layup, but he shot it from way over here with his left hand, so that's not a layup. Anyway, the point is, I think he's Mr. Clutch for this basketball team, and I think he was huge in this game. A lot of other guys played great, and we'll get to some of those, especially when we get to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. And also, I know we've got one for our Gallo Car Wash, too, so that'll be cool. But it was a good, important win, and Florida needed to win that game, especially at home. 6-3 now in the SEC, halfway through the march through the worst, the most difficult thing you can do, which is play in the SEC this year. And the SEC is ridiculous, which is why, and I'll get to this in a moment. I'm going to wait and get to this on number 3, or on number 2. But I did want to mention that Condon, too. I know sometimes he struggles early in games, and misses a lot of threes, but they still want to let him fly. But 19-9 in a game like that was, I mean, one rebound away from a double-double, pretty impressive. On the same night, actually, Kentucky had Mario Williams had a triple-double, and they got killed, which is amazing. So you can take those double-doubles and do whatever you want with them. But anyway, it was a good win for Florida on Tuesday night, and a lot of people enjoyed it. And I know I did. I was very happy that they got that win, because I'm watching the game and I'm getting angry. I'm going, come on, guys. And now, look, again, Vanderbilt's really good. That kid Edwards, who's a typical one of those guys who went to Miles College, no scholarship offers, turned himself into a really good player, and he's really good. He had 20. And surprised it was only that many. He's really good. They've got big guys, but they got in foul trouble. Florida just wore him down. But that was good to get that win because of number 2, which is what's coming up next, which is Auburn. And, I know, well, Florida can beat Auburn. Well, I don't know that they can beat Auburn. I don't know that Will Clayton will be playing. I would assume he will be. I think that's why they set him out for this game. But I don't think it was because they didn't respect Vanderbilt. I think it was, look, he's not ready to go 100%. If we had to have him to win a game in the Final Four, yes, we're going to play him, but not in a regular season game in game number 9 out of 18 in the SEC. You want him for the long haul. But Auburn is just ridiculously good. I mean, think about this. They are undefeated in what is some people are calling the best conference it's ever been in college basketball. Now, there's a lot of bluster going on here about that. We don't know. I mean, I think this conference is going to be defined by what it does in the tournament, not by what it does in the regular season. But as I've said before, I need to get this screen down just a little bit. There you go. I feel like I've got too much air up there. But as I said before, look, you got to win the games here and get the better seeding. Now, even better seeding is no guarantee of anything, but you win the games in the non-conference, and that's where the SEC was ridiculously good, and that's why everybody's freaking out about it. But I will say this: I watch a lot of SEC basketball. I watch a lot of other basketball, and the SEC is really good. So that said, Auburn hasn't lost in this conference. And they just are really good. Johnny Broom is back and doing things again. And, I mean, they just have so many pieces to that. And in my opinion, it's the hardest place to play in the SEC or maybe in the country. They've turned that into a jungle, like they call it. So I'm not real optimistic for this game for Florida. If they lose, it's not the end of the world, obviously. You're not going to really move down much in net or Ken Palm. So just go play and hey, look, I would go into that game if I was Florida and if I was Todd Golden, and I would say, hey, we got nothing to lose here, man. We got nothing to lose. But let's just go have fun. Let's take advantage of the crowd. Let's build off their energy. Let's be the team that we have been at times this year, which is one of the best teams in the country. And I will say that at times they have been the best team in the country. I talked about them being a Final Four team, and sometimes they look like it. I don't know. I don't think anybody's a Final Four team. I don't even think Auburn is a Final Four team yet. You've got to see how it goes down the stretch and who gets hurt and who doesn't get hurt. If they lost Janae Broom, I mean, they're in trouble. But he's really good. They have him for this game, and that's all that really matters. So anyway, Auburn next up, and we'll give you the time and what channel that'll be on when we get to our swamp games of the week end. And it's going to be a fun weekend, that needless to say. So let's move to number 3, which was what happened in the SEC. And last night, Arkansas beat Tennessee. That is a good win. I'm not Tennessee, Texas, sorry. Auburn beat Texas, which is not a huge win, but it's a good win for them. And it's going to help them with their net ranking. And all of a sudden, Arkansas, on John Calipari, they're on the bubble. I mean, they are straight on the bubble. And they're going to, when they're playing teams like Georgia and Vanderbilt, and other teams that Texas was one of them that could get in, or Oklahoma that could get in, think they have a chance. I mean, if Arkansas continues to play the way they are, going to Kentucky and winning, going to Texas and winning, they're going to get in the tournament, and that would be something. I don't even know that I would feel bad. You know how I feel about Calipari. I'm not a fan, but that would be a great story, and that's one thing when we always talk about media boys and girls. Number one thing we root for is the best story, and if it's the best story, I'd love to see it. So that's going to be interesting. A&M won. Yeah, it was pretty much. There wasn't a lot of upsets this week. Most of the home teams won, as always. Georgia got a nice. I mean, Georgia beat LSU. LSU is one of the teams that's totally out of LSU and South Carolina. To me, those are the only teams that have no chance, unless they win the tournament, which isn't going to happen. They're not good, and that's their problem. But the other, I mean, they're not getting 14 teams in. Somebody's going to cannibalize somebody else, but they are going to get at least 11, and most people think 12, and some people think 13. I think that Vandy Georgia game, we'll talk to Mark about that, could be a play-in game. So we'll see what happens there. But it's been really interesting in the SEC, and I did want to mention that now Florida is tied for third in the SEC behind Auburn, of course, and Alabama, which has one loss. They're tied with A&M and Missouri. Yeah, A&M and Missouri, and they're all 6-3. Missouri would have the tiebreaker over Florida. Florida hadn't played A&M yet, but you never know. I mean, you want to get the bye in the SEC tournament, but I don't even know how valuable the bye is. I think sometimes it's better to come and play, and if you get beat, you get to go home and rest. I mean, it's not the end of the world. So I don't know if the SEC tournament's lost any luster, but I would think this year's tournament will be the biggest one ever, because you're going to have more ranked teams and more teams that are probably getting in, and a couple of bubble teams, and those games are going to be. I wish I was going to it this year. I really do. Sometimes I'm glad I'm not there, and sometimes I miss it. The last one I went to was the COVID year. Yeah. So I went to it and saw one basketball game, and then as the second game was ready to tip off, they called a Greg Sankey impromptu press conference, and he explained no fans would be allowed in tomorrow. And then the next day I woke up and I looked at my phone. Everything's canceled. You got to go home, and you don't know how you're going to get home. So it was very weird. I think that says it all. It was weird. But anyway, that's the last time I went to the tournament. I got off on a tangent there. Let's move along to number 4 on our Royal Blue starting 5. And that is that yesterday was usually a day that should be a national holiday, right? Signing day. Well, because of the way it's all screwed up now, in my opinion, it's screwed up. I think you need to get a better calendar than they have. But yesterday was signing day, which is usually a day where you get up in the morning and you can't wait to get into work, and you start looking at all the people that are coming in, and you're and then you have the big press conference and talking to the coaches, and I don't want to talk about guys that aren't coming, only guys that are coming, that kind of thing. And it was a big deal. Yesterday, Florida got 2 guys. But one of them was a big get. Onis Konanbani. I think that's as close as I'm going to get to it. Konanbani is a defensive back. Flipped him from Tennessee, so that's a good get. Michigan moved up in the rankings as well. Florida also got, by the way, a long snapper, Mark Mulhern, which is very important. Obviously, they lose their long snapper this year, Rocco Underwood. So, look, they just added again to great class. I love this class. I love this roster. I think this is a really good roster. And when we look at the schedule, it's very difficult. Excuse me. There's no doubt about that. But I think this team now, a lot of it's going to come down to coaching, and Billy Napier's betting on himself as far as being the offensive coordinator and calling the plays. And he brought in Vinny Sinceri and said it was a no-brainer. I'm like, well, it was a no-brainer. Why didn't you were going to hire Will Muschamp, and you didn't do that. So, and there was at least talk of Charlie Strong. I think Charlie Strong, don't tell anybody I said this, I think he may end up with the Bucks, working for them. So interesting. I didn't say that though out loud. I have sources close to me. So anyway, signing day was not a big deal the way it normally is, but that's the way it works now. I still think there's a way to make it they just got to get the calendar right on everything. And the calendar is wrong on everything. The season is going too long. The time between those playoff games is too long. I heard Greg Sankey talking about this on Paul Feinbaum yesterday, and he was saying, look, we got to look at all this, the buys, we got to look at, but the trouble is, to change it next year, you have to have a unanimous vote. Okay? So do you think the Big 12 or the any of these other conferences, lesser conferences, are going to say, yeah, we don't need those stinking buys. We don't need to to have our game on the campus. I mean, they're going to vote for what's best in their best interest, and that is the problem. Is you have 11 commissioners in Notre Dame, and they're all looking out for themselves. Nobody's looking out for the college football. Let me go sit in that room for 5 minutes, and I'll get them straightened out. I promise you that. All right, finally on our Royal Blue starting five, the Super Bowl is Sunday. I'm excited about it. And the one reason I'm excited about it is I'm pretty much neutral, believe it or not. There's a story about this kid in Philadelphia. There was a plane wreck. The plane wreckage, some of the metal and everything was like flying all over. It was apparently just a horrific scene. Father looks in the back seat. Kid is covering up his sister to save her, but he's got a piece of metal sticking in his head. They rush him to the hospital. He gets the metal out. And you guys have probably heard the story. Gets the metal out of his head, emergency surgery. When he wakes up from surgery, he says, did I miss a game? And did I protect my sister? Did I save her? And that made me go, maybe I'm not rooting against the Eagles. Because I want that kid to be happy. Now, I like the Chiefs a lot. I like Mahomes a lot. I like Andy Reid a lot. I'm just going to watch the game and enjoy it. We've been invited to a party. Les and Darlene, we'll give them a shout out. Yes, absolutely. And looking forward to going over there. And to go to a Super Bowl party. Usually, we've been to a couple of the Salters, but usually we have parties or we just watch it at home. But I'm looking forward to going to this party. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl because it'll be a Super Bowl where I don't care who wins. That's good. I've been stressing too much. It should be. I think it'll be a Titanic Super Bowl where it's going to be great. I think both offenses are going to do great things, and then the defense will catch up, and then the offense will figure something out. I think it's going to be back and forth. I hope so. I hope it's a lot of fun to watch. In a little bit, we'll get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, and we're going to have 3 bets for you. And if you get 2 right, you qualify. So you got to really think this out. A couple of prop bets as well. But right now, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Mark Wise is going to join us. We always love Mark Wise. He'll be coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line, and he will be also playing our game, Yes, No, Where, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. We appreciate Big Mills very much, as all of our sponsors. They are all great, and we appreciate them very much. So let's take a break. We'll come back with Mark Wise right after this. Here are just a few reasons why doing business with the Royal Blue puts you at the helm of your boating lifestyle. 1, the longer we have your listing, the lower percentage commissions you will pay. 2, survey reimbursement for qualified buyers. 3, detail reimbursement for qualified sellers. 4, on-the-water delivery orientation availability. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging and coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Always great to talk to my friend Mark Wise, the basketball expert. I always tell this story that in the second year when Florida won the national championship, every game was the same game. And I'd go to Mark and go, what should I write about? Because I had no idea, because no game was any different. They were always like they'd win by 9, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's great having you on, Mark. How you been?
Pat, I've got a midweek bye, I'm calling it. So I didn't have a game, so we were able to arrange this. Glad to be back on with you again. But after this bye, I'm afraid for the next 6 weeks, it's quite the sprint. So I'm kind of all over the map, starting Saturday, where I'll be in Nashville, to have Texas and Vandy and go from there. I see Missouri twice next week. I have Big South and MAC games coming up, and so I'm kind of all over the map here.
It is something. I will say this: when I'm flipping around the TV and there's a MAC game or a Big South game, and I hear your voice, I go, I'll stay with it for a while.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. But I will tell you this: that second year that you referenced, the second Florida team that won it all, that's the closest I've ever come to being around paparazzi. Because everywhere that team went, it was a zoo. I mean, a complete zoo. So it was bizarre. I was glad to be a part of it. And I still can't believe that Lee Humphrey is the all-time three-point maker in NCAA tournament history.
I'm not sure that'll ever change unless.
No, I may not.
Again, with the way it works with the portal and with guys getting extra years and sticking around because of the NIL,
right?
Maybe somebody does, but I mean, it's still, the guy was just incredible, and all those shots he made. God, the one I remember the first year they won it, he hit about a 24-footer or 28-footer, I'm sorry, and the guys are saying, just keep shooting like that, man. That's fine. You're good.
Yeah, we I did a thing after they won the second one, and I think it was Corey Brewer who said that they had to have a meeting with Humphrey the year before. And basically the message to Humphrey was this: if you can see the rim, shoot it. And that's how much confidence they had in his ability to score.
Again, we're taping this on Wednesday, so when we refer to the game, we'll talk about last night's game.
Right.
But I didn't see Klavzar coming in and being the big star in this game. But I mean, that sometimes you need that when you have injuries like that.
Yeah, when you're shorthanded, he separated on his 2 threes, and then I think Alexis also made a 3 in the second half, and. Those are 9 unexpected points. What was the difference in the game? I think they ended up winning by 11. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to talk about, it's kind of the domino effect, meaning Clayton is out. I hate the term next man up, because if the next man up was as good as the starter, he wouldn't be the next man up, or she wouldn't be the next man up. Okay. But the domino effect meant that Klabchar and Brown had to play minutes that they hadn't played all year. That's where the domino effect comes into play. So I know the coaching staff has been high on Klabchar's ability to make threes in practice. He just hasn't done it in a game. Well, it was a pretty timely response by him and much needed in the absence of Walter Clayton.
Yeah, I think it was 3 for 18 going in. Now, again, most of the shots have taken place late in games that were blowouts and didn't have. But that tells me maybe he has that little clutch gene in him, where he'll make the. I always talk about the clutch gene, which is imaginary, but I still believe in it.
Right.
Some guys have it, some guys don't.
Yeah, I think one of the things I always talk about in close games is not who's willing to take and who's willing to make the shot, who's willing to take the shot.
Yeah,
that's the key, because there are a lot of guys that want to shoot in the first 38 minutes of a game. But you get it into the last 2 minutes and it's a one possession game. Then who's willing to shoot?
Right, exactly. And the guys who are willing to shoot, they better be able to shoot it well.
Because then you have to live with both results.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes or misses.
I did want to ask you about the fact that, and we'll get to the SEC in a minute, but the fact that Florida has played all these neutral site games, which is Todd Golden's, that's what he wants to do. There's only one team that's got more neutral site wins in the SEC, and that's Auburn. Of course, Auburn's got everything, you know.
They've lapped the field.
They have
completely in every category.
But still, it's good that they're 5-0 in neutral site games. And even though I know some of those teams, North Carolina's been a letdown, Arizona State's not been great, you know, but they've won all those games. That's the key.
It looks good on paper. It does not play well with the committee. And I say that because think of this. And I'm going to throw the win at Florida State in this mix also, but beating North Carolina, Virginia, Wake Forest, at Florida State, those 4 wins, Florida's not getting a whole lot of credit for in terms of the NCAA resume. I think only the North Carolina win is a quad 1 win, and it's just barely hanging on because I think Carolina's in the 40s. If they go over 50, then they lose that win. So, Florida's non-conference schedule was not great. I've said that all year. I thought it was good, but not great. And as it's turned out, some of those teams have really let them down in terms of resume building. And as a consequence, I think as of today, Florida only has 4 quad 1 wins. Now, that's 2 or 3 more than a lot of teams have across the country. So that's certainly one of the reasons why they have the lofty net ranking that they have.
Yeah, and I say that all the time on the radio, and I may be totally wrong, but here's what I believe. You build your beachhead in the non-conference. And whatever you are in the non-conference, then you need to be really incredible in the conference or really bad to really affect it very much. But that's what Florida's done. They built that great beachhead of going undefeated.
Yeah, the non-conference presented them with the opportunity to, I think, kind of work in Elijah Martin. And I think he's been the biggest difference maker from last year to this year. I think he gives them a presence on the perimeter they probably haven't had. The Tuesday night game against Vanderbilt is a really good example because he had Hogard, and A.J. Hogard, who I've had 3 or 4 times this year, is really good at attacking the other defender's shoulders on the drive. He doesn't try to go by you. He tries to go through you. So you've got to have a physical presence to meet him, and Martin has that. So he's given them something, and then he's also given them some streaky offense at times and making shots. And Will Richards playing the best basketball of his career, more than just a 3-point shooter. And then so you throw in Clayton, and their backcourt is as good as anybody in the conference.
Yeah, I got a little frustrated last night in the first half when they kept setting up Condon and Hop for threes, and it just was like they took a bunch of them, and I'm like, okay, guys, if they don't go in, quit shooting them. But that's the way they play.
That's why you're not coaching.
That's right. That's the way they play. You get the open.
Well, that's what the analytics tell you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was a good win for Florida. Obviously, I also watched on the other TV Ole Miss and Kentucky.
Right.
And I'm convinced, even at your advanced age, you could get 10 points on Kentucky's defense.
Okay, can I explain that to you? And you've heard me say this before, okay? You have to have certain ingredients to be good defensively, period, okay? If you don't have these ingredients, you're not going to be good. What is the most important ingredient to be good defensively? In my opinion, I don't think it's close. You have to have great team speed. You have to have quickness. Kentucky is average at best at the most important ingredient that you have to be good defensively. The joke that I've always made is it's pineapple upside down cake. If you don't have pineapple, you can't make pineapple upside down cake. So Kentucky's not going to be very good defensively, so they have to win games offensively, and when they don't win. Now, Ole Miss is a tough matchup because they play so physical. They switch everything, so that takes away some of Kentucky's actions that they like to run off the ball. They probably do more off ball schematically on offense than anybody else in the league, and can be difficult to guard, as Florida found out, and as other teams have found out. You know, they have a win over Duke, but they didn't beat Duke because they defended.
Yeah,
they made shots.
A lot of shots. Yeah. Well, it's a weird dynamic. I wanted to ask you: have you ever seen a game where a team had 24 assists and 1 turnover? That was a first for me.
Yeah. You know, I think in this day and age of older players, those things, I see more of that, because older players don't throw the ball away as much. They're better defensively, quote unquote. So I think our game has never been better, Pat. I think the product has never been better because of the COVID redo, because of the transfer portal, because the best players at the mid-major level transfer up. Now, the mid-majors also benefit because they get the best players from the low majors.
Right.
So everybody's trending up. So the talent level at each of the, you know, top tier, middle tier, bottom tier of Division I is all improved. So our game is that's why old wins. Duke is going to be a great test case this year because they do have some older guys, especially in the backcourt. Right. But, you know, they're relying on Cooper Flagg. Now, I would like to rely on Cooper Flagg too. I mean, he's that good. But they're going to be a great test case in this world of old wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, it almost feels like Kentucky and Duke ought to just go play. I mean, Auburn and Duke play. Yeah, just go play and let us know who wins, and we'll.
But we know better than the tournament.
I know.
It's a crapshoot.
There's nothing quite like the tournament, and as you know that, I did want to ask you about a guy you know very well, and when I keep seeing. I'm reading the crawl and I see they won again. I go, holy cow. And that is Rick Pitino at St. John's and what he's doing. I mean, they were nowhere, St. John's. And obviously, you know, one of the losses he wasn't able to bring Walter Clayton over there, but he hasn't, I mean, they're dominating the league.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm going to put Bruce Pearl in this conversation to bring it to the SEC because Bruce Pearl won big at Tennessee. Mm-hmm. I mean, the dude can flat coach. Yeah. I mean, Rick Pitino, think about this: Kentucky, Louisville, St. John's. Where has he lost? Well, you know, the common denominator is him. I think he's a great story. He's one of those guys I think he will coach until he kicks over. But what he's been able to do there with a fan base that was so vanilla. Mm-hmm. I think he's kind of re-energized the Johnnies playing back in MSG. So I think it's all just kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah, it really is. I did also want to ask you about the good news that Dick Vitale is going to be back doing a game on Saturday. Clemson, is it Clemson? I can't remember who it is.
Clemson somebody. Yeah. There's a couple of things about Dick. One is, I hope he gets, and I think he will be. He'll, in my view, what he's done for basketball, what he helped put ESPN on the map. If people don't understand that, go read the book, the big book, the Bible book about ESPN and how it was developed and the role that he played. But what he has done for humanity. What he has done with pediatric cancer research, the gala that he puts on every year, and he works it year round. So all those wonderful things. But when he went so public with his cancer battle, I don't think
30 years, I would think, right?
I mean, it hits close to home for me. Okay, having gone through that, I don't think I could have done that. I don't think I could have shared the dark days mentally, you know, he talked about openly waiting for test results. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a miserable experience as a patient or as somebody who's had cancer. So there's again, I firmly believe Dick should be able to go out ever how he wants to go out. I feel the same way about Lee Corso. I don't care. I just when I watch Saturday game day on football, I turn it over 11:45. I want to see Corso. I don't need to see the other 2 hours, but I want to see the headgear. So I just think that these guys have helped put, a lot of us working at ESPN owe a lot to Dick Vitale.
No, there's no doubt. And like you said, and I want to make sure everybody understands that you can still get a ticket to win a free car from the gala. All you have to do is go on the website, and I think it's $100 for a ticket.
I have 2.
You do?
I have 2 of them right now. I'm a proud member of the V Foundation. So.
Yes. I actually last year, or was it 2 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago. They asked me to write the thing for Dan Mullen was being honored. So I wrote a thing for that. I appreciate Dick so much. He's been, it's like you never want to go, hey, Dick, are you healthy enough to come on my radio show or podcast now? But, you don't want to do that because you just want to make sure he's doing well. And I appreciate him very much. All right, let us get to our yes, no way, or maybe, which is brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. Go in there and say you listen to this podcast. You get free fries with your order. And, of course, Mark Wise is coming to us on the Big Mill's Cheesesteak Zoom line. All right, Mark, for number 1 on yes, no way, or maybe, there will be more than one team from the state of Florida in the NCAA tournament.
Wow. Maybe.
Maybe
at best.
UCF could get in.
They're on the bubble.
They kind of will have to win their tournament, though.
So can I tell you a real quick UCF story?
Yeah.
So everybody can go online. I'm looking at my iPad right now. Everybody can go online and look at the nitty gritty sheets that the NCAA basketball committee will look at. And now they have other criteria, but this is the public part. One of the things that they do on this sheet is conference strength of schedule. So they compare everybody's strength of schedule in your conference play around the country. Mm-hmm. Okay? So who's playing the toughest conference schedule? So you would compare Texas to UC Irvine and so on. So everybody's thrown into the mix. The SEC has the 10 toughest conference schedules from coast to coast. The top 10 are all SEC teams. Texas is number 1. That's why I know that. And here's how I'm tying it to UCF. The first non-SEC team is number 11, and that's UCF with their conference schedule.
Wow. So that'll be a factor for them.
That's a factor in their favor, yes.
Yeah, and I don't
because not all conference schedules are created equal anymore.
Right. No. We'd know that in football as well. I can tell you that.
Correct.
But that's the thing is FSU or Miami's not winning their tournament.
No.
They're pretty bad.
I had to stop and think about, Jacksonville's second, I think, in the ASUN right now. They have a shot.
Yeah.
Okay. So
FAU, I've watched them play. They're not.
No, they can't beat
Elijah
Memphis.
Martin and the guy, John L.
Davis.
Davis, yeah.
And the big guy who's now at Michigan, Golden.
That's right. Yeah.
With Dusty May.
I was hoping he would come here, but again, Florida was loaded with big guys. So
right.
All right, let's get to number 2 on yes, no way, or maybe, and that is their team from the state of Alabama will win the national championship this year.
Wow. Well, if you're asking me to take 1 or 2 teams or the field, it's pretty obvious I'm taking the field.
Yeah.
So is Auburn capable of winning the NCAA title? Yes. I trust them more than I trust Alabama. Alabama, in my opinion, has to beat you in a certain way. Now, their certain way is really good.
Right.
They don't make threes. They just shoot a lot of threes. So, they make 10 a game. But until last week, when I think the one game they made 15, they're shooting like 31%. You shoot 30% in an NCAA tournament game, all of a sudden you're in a 2-possession game with 5 to go, and anything can happen. Auburn is the team, right? Auburn is the team, in my view, that can beat you in more different ways. They've won games this year because I just had them last week. They won games this year in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. And
they're good. They're really good.
I had somebody tell me that he had talked to somebody on the Florida, not a coach, but somebody on the Florida staff, and they were looking at everything, and of course they study analytics, and they go, "We don't see how anybody's going to beat Hopper now."
Right,
They get
right.
they get a chance to do it this week, but again, in that jungle, it's going to be rough, as we know. All right, number 3 on yes, no, where, maybe. You would bet the over on the 11.5 that I've set for number of teams that are getting in. I've set my own mark at 11.5 for SEC teams.
Yeah.
I'm still convinced that you have 4 teams that are really bubblicious, and if they all collapse, it could end up being 10 or 11.
Right, right. I'm taking yes. I think I'm taking the over. I think it'll be 12. I think it will be difficult to get to 13.
Yeah.
Because of the very thing that you've just talked about. But give me the yes. I'm saying 12 at least.
Yeah, it's like I think Georgia's playing a bubble team in the last game, maybe Arkansas, something like that. But
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of games, and it's going to be fun. The second half of the season is going to be fun.
Yeah, my last game of the regular season is Vandy at Georgia.
That's what it is, Vandy at Georgia.
So that's my, what'd you call it, the bubblicious game. Yeah. But the winner might get in.
Yeah.
That might be a play-in game.
Yeah, it'll be fun to do it. It's always fun having you and talking to you. You know that, Mark, you're one of my favorite people in the world, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on. And I know you have a busy schedule, but we found a way to get you on today.
Well, I appreciate it, Pat. I always enjoy being with you.
All right, we'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break. Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. You know, the kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios here at the Ponderosa. I've been thinking about changing this whole room and getting some of these helmets that I've got up that we got from coaches, but they didn't sign them, so we didn't raffle them off, and just putting them behind me. We'll give them away eventually, but and getting a little bit better lighting. Like Mark had that great natural lighting. I don't have much because the sun's over there. But anyway, we'll work on it. We'll get it good. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Of course, Hesser and Kipke is the place you want to go for all your workers' comp and family law situations. 352-339-9920, the number to call, as you know. www.hklawfl.com if you want to get a hold of them. They're the best, man, and we appreciate them so much. In fact, I owe them a lunch. We need to go to lunch pretty soon. We usually do that about once or twice a year. All right. number one. So this was a weird story. Roger Goodell says, hey, we looked at all the injury data. We may want to play an 18th game now. And the NFLPA guy goes, nobody wants to play an 18th game. And I'm like, well, nobody wants to play an 18th game, but nobody wanted to play a 17th game. My thing is, just as a fan, because I don't cover the NFL or anything like I used to, but I don't want to see an 18th game. I mean, I don't want to see more guys with the possibility of getting hurt, but that's not so much what it is. It's the season's really long as it goes. If you want to play an 18th game, then start it before college football and just drag it out. But I mean, I don't see how they can do that. I don't know. I don't think a lot of the players want to do that 18th game, and I don't even know why it's coming up. But you know why it's coming up. Revenue for the owners. It's all about the owners. That's what you have to understand. The NFL is all about, it's not about the players, it's about the owners. And whatever they want is what they get, for the most part, unless they go on strike. But it'll be interesting to follow that. It sounds like that's not going to happen. All right, let's get to our number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is the NCAA is looking into, and Steve Shaw was quoted about this, looking into the fake injury thing, and their penalty was to send stern warnings to teams not to do it. Yeah, that worked really good. This is not just a regular warning. This is a stern warning. We're going to be mad at you if you keep doing this. Well, that's not going to work. So I gave them the solution a long time ago, and now they're talking about it, and I think this is going to be implemented this year. And that is, if you come out of a game with an injury, you're out for that series. You can't come back in. But they also don't want the quarterbacks to have to do that, or the guy with the green dot who's calling the plays defensive line if you get the wind knocked out of you. So I understand that. But if you're down on the field and you're not a quarterback or the middle linebacker, you got to sit out for a while, man. I don't even know if the length of the drive is fair. I would go 3 plays. I would go, or maybe 4 plays, something like that. I think the length of the drive could be 17 plays, and that I don't know if that's right. And but anyway, we'll see what they end up coming up with. But it's something that needs to happen. I mean, the fans hate it. Sometimes there's guys really hurt, and the fans are booing. And I know what they're booing. They're booing. They think that he's faking it, but he's actually broken his leg. And the cart comes out, and they go, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't have booed." That's a way to solve the problem. The way to solve the problem is guys got to sit out. Are you willing to have a guy sit out? I would go 4 plays. 3 plays isn't enough. Are you willing to have a guy fake an injury to sit out 4 plays? And I think a lot of people would. So I'm sure Lane Kiffin is in favor of that. And then number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, the NBA has just been crazy, as we know, with all the trades going on. Many of them, I have no idea who the players are. But the big one, of course, Jimmy Butler last night traded to the Warriors. I'm a Warriors guy. I'm trying to mentally decide how that's going to work, but hopefully it does. And he's going to sign a deal with them. Andrew Wiggins to the Heat. I actually had a long conversation with his dad when he played at FSU, Mitchell Wiggins. He was a great player. But anyway, Jimmy Butler to the Warriors and Wiggins to the Heat, and we'll see how that all matches up. Kevin Durant said they were trying to get Kevin Durant. He said, I don't want to go back there. And I would have said, well, then we don't want you. Okay, how about that? All right. So that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let us move now to our Adams Ribco Gator of the week. And to me, it was a no-brainer. And that was Herb Cloudchar. Is it Cloudchar? However you get it, Cloudchar. Cloudchar. Oh, my wife said, what was the guy's name that made those shots the other night? And I go, I can't. I really can't pronounce his name. But because I didn't think I would have to learn it. But here he comes in, and look, those 2 shots were the 2 biggest shots of the game. They're up 3. They've got a little momentum going, trying to pull away. Boom, he hits a 3. Get the ball back, hits a 3 on the run. That changed the whole game. Now you're up 9, and I could relax a little bit. So Herb, That's what we needed, another herb here. But he is our Adams Ribco Gator of the week. And we are looking forward to see who the Gator of the weekend is. It could be anybody because we got a lot of stuff going on. So appreciate Adam and Adam's Rib for being part of that. All right, our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Now, the way I'm putting this, guys, you have got to get 2 of the 3 right to qualify. So you got to really be thinking this through. And here's what they are. You ready? The anthem, which always is a big bet. The anthem over and under is 120.5 minutes. Okay, I'm not going to time it, but we'll I'm sure it'll be up there. Some will post how long it was. Maybe I will time it. But anyway, it's over under is 120.5 minutes. So that's 2 minute, or no, not 120.5 minutes. It's 120.5 seconds, dummy. If it was 120.5 minutes, they would take the person, John Batiste, that's doing the national anthem, and drag him off the field. So anyway, 120.5 seconds. So it's 2 minutes, basically. The first offensive play, run or pass. So not anything but the kickoff, first offensive play, run or pass. And then who wins? I'm not going to give you the spread. You don't need the spread. It's like 1.5 or a point. That means it's a toss-up game. That's what it means. That means you're betting for the winner. So there it is. You ready? Anthem over and under 120.5 seconds. First play of the game, run or pass. Who wins? If you get 2 out of the 3 right, you qualify for our giveaway. Leonardo's and Millhopper. $25 from Leonardo's and Millhopper, and whatever I throw in there. Okay? You never know what it's going to be. Although I do need to get some more books from Patrick Young, signed books from him, so we can give those away as well. All right, let us move along to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. Appreciate Gallo Car Wash so much for being a sponsor. Our Sponge of the Week is Denzel Aberdeen, and here's why. Denzel Aberdeen has sat on the bench for 3 years, basically, soaking up information. Sponge. He was a sponge, soaking up information. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? And kind of came on the scene last year at the SEC tournament. But again, this year he was going to be in a sub role. We all knew that. And then with Walter Clayton out, guess what he got? His first ever start in his 65th game. That is only one player is ahead of him. That's Chris Richard, which I think is 115. When he got his first start, I think they made a start. I don't know if anybody was hurt, if they just started him because they wanted to give him a start. I can't remember that, but Denzel and played a great game. No turnovers, playing 35 minutes at point guard. I give him a lot of credit. But all that information he soaked up, he was ready when he finally got that start. Played really well, big part of that win for Florida. So he is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. Appreciate him. Let's move to this, that, and the other, brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, by Darth Shackow Insurance, and by Ironwood Golf Course. Appreciate all of our great sponsors there. This is that when Pete Alonso left Florida and was drafted by the Mets, I'm like, oh, man, I love Pete. I can't root for the Mets. I'm a Braves guy. That's not good. And so, they just had to deal with it. Luckily, and unfortunately, well, I guess I'm trying to decide whether it was fortunate or unfortunate, because he became this star in New York, and I was happy for him, but not happy if the Mets were beating the Braves. It was weird dynamic. And he was a big deal. And then, of course, he won the home run derby, and you wanted him to win that kind of thing. That is that it became really weird for me this past year, where I think he hit 220, 27 homers. I think he didn't hit a lot of homers. He didn't have a great year. Let's face it. So that was weird, because when he comes up against the Braves or against anybody, because the Mets are in the race with them, I gotta say, Pete, if you strike out, it's okay with me. And that makes me feel bad, because I love Pete Alonso. The polar bear, man, he's a great guy. And the other is he was going to go somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, I can root for him. Maybe he'll go into the American League. I can really root for him there. Alas, he signed again with the Mets. He wanted a long-term deal from the Mets. They didn't want to give it to him. It's up to him to prove that he deserves it. But he did get, I mean, oh, poor guy. He signed a 2-year, $54 million deal. So I think he'll be okay. I don't think he's going to starve, but he's definitely in the proving mode. So now I'm back with that dilemma. The Mets have gotten Soto and all these guys. I mean, they're going to be the team to beat. And I'm like looking at him and going, I got to root against him again. I got to root against him, and I don't want to. So maybe I just won't watch Mets games. That'll be it. This, that, and the other brought to you by Ironwood, Ballyhoo, and by Darshak Insurance. All right, let us move along to our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment. The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today. Okay, well, this is your new Southern California, University of Southern California defensive coordinator, Rob Ryan. Just listen to this.
He knows how to get it done. He's a great communicator, great teacher. He's fun to be around. He makes everybody better, including the coaches. And, we'll see. I'm looking forward for the, spring ball or whatever. I can't wait. We're going to go against the best. Oh, good. Bring it on. Let's see. I can't wait to see that little JUCO kid from Hutch. Bam! We're going to get after his little butt. But anyway, it'll be great. We're excited.
He is.
And I saw the Mayava guy. I coached his uncle. I hated that kid when I first saw him. A USC kid, a little captain. Remember, he could walk under this table right here. Little guy. And we draft this little runt. I'm like, oh, man. This guy, I was all over this kid during the OTAs. Like, man, this guy, man, you got to run to cover a guy. Anyway, so then I'm like, hey, guys.
I don't know what's better, the hair or the rant. I wish he was Florida's defensive coordinator, to be honest with you. I would love to deal with him every once in a while. But it was definitely a Mayhem moment because you don't get press conferences like that very often. But apparently they're going to get a lot. I don't know if because like a lot of these coaches are on the Saban rules, which is coordinators don't talk, maybe before the season, or maybe before spring, but they don't talk during the year. And then when they get to if you make the playoffs, you have to talk. It's a rule. When you get to the college football playoffs, they have to make them available. Anyway, I thought that was funny. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's move along to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Of course, BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialist. I think I lost some weight yesterday when I didn't eat all day. Well, that was stupid, and I kind of felt the pain of it, but I'm feeling good now, and I'm looking forward to talking to them. We're going to actually come up with a plan and a challenge on the BMI TeleMed weight loss specials, and I'm going to try to lose another. I need to get another 20 off. Okay, that's my goal. Okay, my wife said you don't need to lose any more weight. You're good, look good, and I go, no, I want to keep going. I want to keep going in the right way. All right, BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Weekend. I give it to the SEC, and here's why. You're driving along in New Orleans. Hey, I think the Super Bowl might be here this week, blah, 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 but you're driving on that, what is that, I-10 or I-4, whatever it is. It's one of those highways. And you go by the Superdome, and you look up, and there's a huge billboard there. And you know what it says? SEC, most active players in the NFL. Big thing. Like, that is so cool. And when you see that, you go, okay, yeah, they do. That's the way it works. So, but that is our cool move of the week. SEC never failing to put its footprint down. Of course, it already has one in New Orleans, but still, it's putting another one down. So that was pretty cool. All right, I think we have gotten everything except our Swamp Games of the Weekend, which is always one of our favorite parts. The Swamp Games of the Weekend, of course, Swamp is a place to go to watch these games, especially the Super Bowl. If you're not invited to a party, go to the Swamp and watch the Super Bowl. It'll be great. They big screen. I'm sure they have a lot of things going on. I know they were doing the Bachelor special with the rose and everything for Valentine's, but I'm sure they've got a lot of other specials going on for the Super Bowl, and they will be packed, and that will be raucous. In fact, if I wasn't going to this party, I might go there. In fact, I think I would go there. I'd go there with Kelsey. She loves going there. All right, let's get to our swamp games of the weekend. Let's start because I know that. Anyway, I don't play. Alabama is playing at Florida in women's basketball tonight, Thursday, which is tonight, at 7 on the SEC network, if you want to watch that. Softball also opens its season today against UNF at 6. It's only on the Plus. I will be watching it because I want to see some of these new players. But that's a 6 o'clock game. And then they go to Tampa for that USF tournament, which they always play in. They play like 5 games. Michigan's the second best team there. Friday through Sunday. None of those games are on television. So I don't know if Gator Vision's got anything, but you probably gonna have to listen to them or on WRUF or find another place to listen to them. But yeah, that bothers me that they don't televise those, but they don't care. I mean, nobody cares, but me, I care. All right, gymnastics Friday night at Arkansas, the number 2 Gator gymnastics team, 7 o'clock on the SEC channel. I know Karen and I will be watching that. We love our gymnastics. All right, the Phoenix Open, Waste Management Open, but it's Phoenix, which is on a course I play, so I love watching that tournament. And you know what the word raucous keeps coming up today. It's all actually, is it ruckus or raucous? Anyway, it's going to be loud. Let's put it that way. If you're going to watch it, it's on the Golf Channel on Thursday and Friday at like 3 o'clock. And then it goes to NBC Saturday, Sunday at 3 o'clock. So they're going to look. The plan is always that it ends right as the Super Bowl comes on, but sometimes it goes extra holes, and you better have 2 TVs. That's all I'm saying. If you want to watch it. Okay. Basketball-wise, of course, Florida-Auburn, 4 o'clock Saturday on ESPN2. There's another really good game on Saturday, A&M at Missouri, 3:30 on the SEC network. I looked to see the Sunday, if there were any Sunday college basketball games worth watching before the Super Bowl. There really aren't. There's some games that are good, but nobody's ranked. And the Super Bowl starts at 6:38, usually. People say 6, they'll say 6:30, but 6:38 is usually what time they kick it off. Toe meets leather. Also, tonight, you may be watching this, the Hall of Fame is going to be announced for football. I hope Fred Taylor gets in. I'm not optimistic just because he's still not hidden in yet. I think Eli Manning's going to get in. It's a tough field, but I hope Fred gets in. I really do. All right, and that's tonight, by the way. I'm not sure what time. I should have written that down. I think it's at 7, probably on the NFL Network. So look at that. That's my fault for not looking that down. You guys pay attention to detail. Hey, thanks to Mark Wise for coming on. We always love having him, and you're going to fit his schedule out. Looking forward to Matt McCall next Thursday, and of course, Coach Spurrier on Monday. Always enjoy him. I'm sure we'll talk a lot of Florida basketball, Florida softball, but mostly Super Bowl, and that'll be a lot of fun to talk about. I know Coach thinks the Eagles are going to win. I think the Eagles are going to win as well. So that's my official pick. All right, that's going to do it for another Duly Noted podcast. Appreciate all of you listeners, all of you who watch the show. Certainly appreciate all the work Zach does. He's amazing. And we will be back with another show on Monday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, way back, and I am out of here.